Welcome, guys. It is Tuesday, July the 8th. And you know what that means? It is time for another edition of Transportation Tuesday. Now, I hope everyone had a good 4th of July weekend. Hope you got to have your little barbecue or cookout, drink a couple of beers, and see some fireworks. I know out here in my neighborhood, they were blasting fireworks at 3 a.m. in the morning. Man, you gotta love living in the city. So today, as you saw from the title, the name of the game is Bad Infrastructure Projects. And we got two really bad ones. Now, when it comes to these projects and things like that and these designs, normally at an engineering firm, a design goes through several different people before it makes it out the door. So it's never one person making all the decisions. But somehow, these two projects actually did get signed off, and one of them has a good chance of being built. So what am I talking about? Well, let's get into the video. Colorado yellow. Colorful Colorado. All right, so this first one is right here in Colorado, right down the street from me, actually, where the governor of Colorado, Governor Jared Polis, I think that's how you say it, Polis, is on his way out. And on his way out, he wanted to leave Colorado with an interesting project. So let's take a look here. Colorado yellow. Colorful Colorado indeed.
This morning, we're learning a local nonprofit wants the state to shut down a proposed walkway project in downtown Denver. We showed you the pictures of this last week.
Yeah, so the governor's office released the renderings of the Colorado 150 pedestrian walkway just last week. You see it and you're like, oh, that looks like it could be pretty nice. But now that project is facing some pushback. Fox 31's Courtney Fromm joins us live from the state capitol with more details about why one group is saying, it might look nice, but they're saying there's no real point to it, apparently.
Yeah, good morning to you both. It's kind of interesting, the pushback that is happening, because they are saying it's not going to do anything for the area and could potentially just be a wasteful project. But you know, there is a lot of traffic on Lincoln every single morning, and a lot of people that hang out in this park that cross Lincoln to go over to the Capitol. So it sounds like it needs to be done, but this group who's pushing back, they say they had other plans in mind. It was also interesting because the governor's office was super excited when they sent out those renderings. Now here's a look at them and the changes you could potentially see. It will form a loop in Veterans Memorial Park, and it features a bridge over Lincoln Street before.
All right, we're gonna stop it right there. So guys, just take a look at this rendering. Look at this. Hold on, let's go a little bit further
ends
out.
At the Capitol building.
So the Capitol building is right here. They're proposing this walkway that elevates up from the park and wiggles around in this squiggly path and a bridge over Lincoln Street, which is the street right here. So let me show you guys what we're dealing with on Google Maps so you can get a better understanding of what's going on here. So this is literally right here, right down the street from me, the Colorado State Capitol. So let's get a nice little overview. So if you look right here, this is the Capitol building. This is the street they're talking about, Lincoln Street. It's a one-way street that goes in this direction. And there's Colfax to the left, 14th on the right. So as of right now, you got two walkways. You got one at this corner right here, and then you got this corner right here. So what they're claiming is that a lot of people just cross in here rather than going to the crosswalks. So in order to solve this problem, the governor says we need to build a gigantic, ugly bridge that takes way longer to cross to prevent people from walking across here. Now, Lincoln is a major thoroughfare. It goes north further into downtown Denver, while Broadway right here goes to the south. So Broadway traffic is going in this direction. Now, what you got to understand about politicians, you really got to pay attention to politicians when they're on their way out and they can't be reelected. That's when they really start doing things that they really want to do. Now, we see that at the federal level when a president is in his second term and he can't run any more elections. He'll go ahead and start just doing whatever. But a lot of these local and state politicians do the same thing. It just doesn't make the news as much. So I think this is more about the governor's ego because, so now let's say we wanted to stop people. People don't want to walk all the way here to this intersection or to that intersection to walk across to the Capitol. Why not just put a signal right here? Put a protected crosswalk with a signal right here, and people can walk across. And all you got to do is sync the light on that signal with this light at 14th and the light on Colfax. Boom. Problem solved. No ugly bridge necessary. But I guess that makes too much sense. Makes way too much sense. So instead they want to put this eyesore on here. And not only that, but let me show you this bridge again. So also with this bridge, it doesn't look like it's high enough for trucks to go underneath. So if you're in a truck, if you want trucks that are trying to get into downtown to do deliveries, well, Lincoln goes northbound, Broadway is southbound. That means the trucks are going to have to come, well, Bannock is closed, so you can't go on Bannock. You got to go over here to Logan, which is going to cause major traffic flow disruptions. Logan's a more residential street over there. So basically, this is a solution in search of a problem. And not only that, let's talk about the money. Let me see if they mentioned it in the video, but
Its 11,000-foot square path will celebrate Colorado's 150th birthday, and it's supposed to improve accessibility, including tributes to Colorado's geology and artwork from local artists. But Historic Denver says the design has changed ever since they learned about it. They believe it's wasteful, like I said, and are worried it's going to be useless for the future.
When we first saw the bridge, we were just immediately quite concerned it was going to be very out of keeping with the characteristics that make Civic Center Park and the Capitol grounds really special, which is restraint, symmetry, elegance, and really being very contrary to the design guidelines which guide the evolution of this park to ensure that any new intervention is in line with its existing characteristics.
Yeah, another thing too is they had some other ideas for Lincoln, that group that's put.
He's right about that too, the symmetry. So if you look at it right now, this Capitol area is perfectly designed. It's completely symmetrical. The city government is in this building right here, and then you got Civic Center Park, then you got this park right here, and you got this perfect symmetrical layout right here. Beautiful. I mean, aside from all the homeless out here, it's a beautiful area. So they want to put this monstrosity, there's no other way to describe it. Let's go back to that rendering. They want to put this monstrosity out here that's not symmetrical and is just, come on, man. So you guys let me know what you think. Do you think this right here would look good in the middle of Denver in front of the Capitol? And not only that, like how ugly it is aside, people are not going to go take a longer path to use this bridge. They're going to just keep walking through the middle of the crosswalk. They're going to walk through the middle of the road. Nobody's going to come hop on this bridge and walk to the Capitol. You know, maybe the graffiti artists will have a new target out here, but nobody's going to do this.
Characteristics that make Civic Center Park and the Capitol grounds really special, which is restraint, symmetry, elegance, and really being very contrary to the design guidelines which guide the evolution of this park to ensure that any new intervention is in line with its existing characteristics.
Yeah, another thing too is they had some other ideas for Lincoln, that group that's pushing back. They said they wanted better grounded pathways for people to cross the street and maybe some different traffic patterns for cars. They also are working.
Yep, that's all you have to do. Sync up the traffic signals right here. Put a traffic signal right here if necessary for pedestrians, because the #1 traffic control device is the traffic light. More people obey traffic lights than stop signs and any other form of traffic control. Put another stoplight right here if you have to, and time up the lights. Problem solved.
The cost of the walkway, which they say is potentially $20 million.
$20 million also. And if you guys didn't know, Colorado is one of the states that is mismanaging their money and is having budget issues. So is the city of Denver. Yet we got $20 million to throw away on garbage like this. You got to watch these politicians and what they do when they're on their way out. I guarantee if the governor was up for re-election, this project would not be happening.
Exactly where that funding is coming from quite yet, but they are asking other people, if you're opposed, to go and sign their petition. But if this thing goes through, and the governor's office obviously really excited about it, it will be done by next summer, which is kind of hard to believe. It's going to be a lot of construction in this area, but clearly there's a push to get it going forward, and then obviously a push to stop it from happening. But for now, live in Denver, Courtney Fromm, Fox 31.
You think figure it out pretty soon, because if they have that timeline, then I mean they would start construction pretty soon as well.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, so let's see if we can get this stopped in Denver, because this is disgusting. But if you thought that was bad, wait until this project that you see next. Now this one is an exception to what we normally do. Normally I talk about what's going on in the United States, maybe Canada here and there. This is in India, where they have a 90-degree bridge that was built. Let's take a look. All right, and as you can see here, we got an article for this one rather than a video, but Vice did an article about it, and it says 7 engineers got suspended after this $2.3 million bridge includes a bizarre 90-degree turn. Now look at this picture right here. This is an auto bridge. So cars, someone designed this for cars to drive at this 90-degree angle over these train tracks. Now, aside from the crazy design of this bridge, I'm pretty impressed that it only cost $2.3 million. You're not building any bridges in the United States for $2.3 million. Multiply that by 10 or even 100 in some places. So ever had to make a 90-degree turn on a bridge? Nope. In India, 7 engineers did just that. So it said a $2.3 million bridge in Bhopal, India went viral, and 7 engineers were suspended. A retired official is facing investigation, and the construction firms behind it have been blacklisted. Well, I mean, obviously they should, because all these people that work in this firm let this project come out. So it says this is a 648-meter rail over bridge, or ROB, to connect Mahamai Kaaba to New Bhopal. I know I messed up the pronunciation of these Indian places. Easing congestion and slashing wait times for up to 300,000 daily commuters. But it's now a punchline and a cautionary tale. So it said the chief minister immediately suspended all 7 engineers and 2 chief engineers. And they are doing an inquiry into retired sub-engineer. So this design was actually shifted multiple times. They had conflicts between the public works, everyone trying to figure out how to work around the railway property, and it ended up being this 90-degree angle. Okay, so it did say that they originally, in 2018, had a plan with a 45-degree turn, but that was scrapped because the railways refused to approve the construction on their land. So they've been having conflicts with the metro line, and they somehow landed at this project. Let's see if we can find some more pictures of this. I want to see more of this. So yeah, look at that. There's another rendering of it. So yeah, it was the rail right here. So apparently they had some type of conflict with the owners of the rail, and this is what they came up with. Now, you don't need to be an engineer to know that a 90-degree turn for cars is probably not going to work, but in India they did that. So what do you guys think about this? Or any of you who are familiar with India, what is going on out there in India to where the engineers, you got 7 engineers, 2 chief engineers who actually put something out like this to the public? Oh man. But there it is, guys. We got Colorado designing this wacky bridge to the Capitol, and we got India designing a 90-degree turn bridge. What's going on out here? This looks like something somebody did in a video game or something. All right. Now for some good news. In Phoenix, Arizona, a long-awaited project involving Interstate 10 is finally completed. Check it out.
In Tempe, Chandler, Ahwatukee, Mesa, really just about anywhere in the East and Southeast Valley, chances are you have driven through or been stuck in 4 years of construction on the Broadway curve on I-10.
Well, guess what? There's good news. Finally, the project is officially done. 12 News journalist William Pitts shows us what it took.
The redone Broadway curve took a little longer than they thought it would. It took 4 years. It was supposed to be done last year. But now officials say it is finally finished. Honestly, no one liked this. The construction, the delays, the closures, but drivers put up with it for years for this day.
The Broadway curve has solidified its place as a key driver of Arizona's economy.
It's been almost 4 years since active construction began on the I-10 Broadway Curve Improvement Project, and as of May 31st, this project has reached substantial completion, which means there will be no more weekend freeway closures.
After years of construction, the freeway is now 16 lanes. ADOT says rush hour has improved. On and off ramps have changed. There are side lanes to basically take people off I-10 without having to scramble to find an exit.
All right, guys, let me show you what you're dealing with here. We're going back to the map. And if you are familiar with Arizona, then you know exactly where this is. Interstate 10. Let's get it back out here. Las Vegas, Phoenix. Here we go, Phoenix. Now, Google Maps probably hasn't updated this because it was just finished, but it's this area right up in here. So when I was in Arizona, there were tons of delays, tons of backups, and now this project is finally complete. And I will say, well, let's look at the traffic right now. Ooh, look at that. Look at that. Look at Phoenix. Ooh, all green. Hey. Phoenix is probably the largest city with the best flowing traffic in the country, the largest metro area, Phoenix, Arizona, if you want to get away from traffic. But this, notice she said it was 16 lanes too. So 16 lanes now makes I-10 in Phoenix one of the widest freeways in the country. Now, it's still no Katy freeway because of those frontage roads that Katy has, but this is up there. And when I was in Arizona, this was the only area where I did really encounter any bottlenecks. So it's nice to see that that is finally addressed. Let's see the rest of the video.
It's the road being safer. Not having to make as many lane changes is critically important to me.
Tempe Mayor Corey Woods has lived through the construction and the complaints.
No one likes sitting in traffic, but at the end of the day, sometimes it's like the old Frederick Douglass line of without struggle, there's no progress. If you're not willing to frankly sacrifice a little bit to actually have a little bit of construction, to have a much more improved, efficient, effective freeway system, then, you know, I don't know what to tell you.
Business owners, residents, and drivers played a major role too. And I want to thank them for their patience.
Patience because this thing was supposed to be done a long time ago. It was supposed to be done in the fall of 2024, but that season came and went. ADOT says there were delays, weather delays, traffic lights, wrong way detection. But when you think about it, 4 years of construction isn't that bad considering the planning for this project started in 2004.
That's beautiful.
21 years ago, the iPhone didn't even exist. So 4 years is almost a bargain. But now, after all that construction,
this is the most complicated freeway redevelopment project in state history, and it's done.
William Pitts, 12 News.
All right, good job, Arizona. Getting it done. Getting it done out there in Arizona. But like I said, Phoenix, impressive traffic flow. They really kept up with the growth out here as far as their roads. Now, if only they could work on the quality of those roads up there in Kingman, I-40, future I-11 corridor. But yeah, Phoenix, I-10 is complete. Now for this next story, we got some good news. Now, if you're like me, you hate going to the airport. You hate the whole process of flying. I'm just not a fan of it. Between I need to get to the airport 2 to 3 hours ahead of my flight just in case. I gotta go through security. I gotta be scrunched up in a tiny seat. I don't get to see anything while I'm flying except for clouds. So me, I'm more of a road trip guy, and I'll fly when I can't drive because it's just not feasible. But one of the big headaches of flying is finally going away. And this is one of the ones that came after 9/11 where you have to take your shoes off when you're going through security. So let's take a look.
Is very, very good news. Now, you mentioned it might get a little easier to go through airport security. After nearly 20 years, TSA has been requiring folks to take their shoes off, but that rule for airport passengers may, in essence, go away very, very soon. Now, sources tell ABC News the policy is being phased out, and people traveling through major airports across the country will be allowed to keep their shoes on. We are now currently working on an official update from the TSA. Right now, with the exception of children under 12 and seniors, only passengers with TSA pre-check can keep their shoes on for faster security screening. Now, the shoes off rule was put in place in 2006, a few years after a man tried to blow up an international flight with explosives packed in his shoes. Now, this morning, air travelers we spoke with say they like it.
I used to fly a lot. It was inconvenient to have to take my shoes off then when I'm getting my stuff together, and now I'm habitually late, so then I'm running late trying to put my shoes back on, so taking away some of the extras is a blessing.
I think the new policy is going to help the line speed up a little more. Family members won't have to be taking off their shoes, so it'll be a lot faster. It's going to be something positive.
Now, honestly, this is a pretty big deal because I know in some airports now, you know, you used to have to take, some airports you have to take your laptop out of the bag, take your iPad out of the bag. Some airports now you can just put your whole bag through the conveyor belt. Now you don't have to take your shoes off and all that stuff. You're basically just walking up, drop your bag, take off any metal or anything like that, and just walk through the thing. This should speed things up a lot more. So you no longer have to have TSA pre-check to avoid the shenanigans of taking your shoes off at the airport. So this is a welcome change.
Now, you have to keep in mind that if you go through security and you happen to you trigger the alarm, well, you're going to be pulled to the side for additional screening, and that's when you'll have to take your shoes off. Now, here's another caveat. We are not quite sure yet. We haven't been confirmed as to which airports, major airports, this is going to take place in. So we're still waiting to hear back from TSA about that. If it happens to be O'Hare, which right now it is not, because I asked the personnel, they said, no, you still got to take your shoes off. It would happen on Sunday. So something to look forward to if you happen to be traveling this weekend. You guys travel this weekend at all?
No, not this weekend, but in a...
All right. So air travel actually getting easier for a change. No more shoes off. Thank you. Now our last story is down in Florida. Now we just talked about how dangerous Florida's I-4 is, but this one is talking about HOV lanes in Florida. Now, I mentioned it on a couple videos in the past maybe, but I'm not a big fan of HOV lanes. I think they're pretty much useless between all the people I see violating them all over the country. Some people have mannequins. Some people don't even care about that at all. Some people just will drive in the HOV lane regardless, and they don't care because in some states they're not really enforcing it as much. You know, if no one catches you or they don't have the cameras, then who's to know that you went in the HOV lane? So it just ends up being mostly useless. I'm a bigger fan of the express lanes because at least you're collecting revenue for the people who are paying more to go faster through traffic. And that revenue can in turn be used to maintain the road. So Florida is doing a good thing, in my opinion, by getting rid of HOV lanes. Let's take a look.
For years, Florida has put an end to its HOV lanes. According to the state, those high occupancy vehicle lanes were confusing for drivers and difficult for authorities to police. CBS 12's Luli Ortiz joining us just off I-95 in West Palm Beach with a reaction from drivers this evening.
Yeah, this new law now in effect covers a range of transportation changes, high occupancy vehicle lanes being one of them. Now all drivers can use these lanes without the fear of getting a ticket. HOV lanes. While drivers will still see these high occupancy vehicle lane signs on South Florida highways, they no longer apply. As of Tuesday, July 1st, the state repealed the law that governed HOV lanes, ending rules that once required multiple passengers during weekday, morning, and evening rush hours to legally use them.
Yes, I used it often, yes.
While the law may be gone, the stories live on. Drivers have witnessed some wild attempts to cheat the system and avoid a $158 fine.
I've seen people driving with dummies in their car, not live dummies. They thought they could get away with being in the HOV lane. I guess they did.
This new law also repeals which vehicles can use the HOV lane. Before, single drivers with hybrids and electric vehicles could bypass the carpool rule with a special decal.
I don't worry so much about people that have to drive fast. It's like if you're in that big of a hurry to die, go for it. I'm going to go slower and I'm going to live a while.
Well, ma'am, hate to say it, but driving slow, especially on the interstate, does not guarantee that you're going to be safer. It's better to drive with the flow of the traffic, not necessarily drive slow. But yeah, like she said, people use mannequins. Like they also said in the video, it's hard to enforce this HOV lane restriction. So it's just a waste of time. Just turn into an express lane.
Will you be driving on the left lane now?
Probably, because it goes to the express and I need that one. Got my Sun Pass to go right to it.
This new law also scraps toll exemptions from these special decals. Now, if you recently received one, it remains valid for up to a year from the issue date.
All right, so if you got your decal recently, you got one more year. But after that, it's all express lanes, no more HOV lanes. If I recall, there aren't any HOV lanes in Florida outside of the South Florida area. In Fort Lauderdale, Miami, there might be some, so I think that's what they're talking about. So yeah, no more HOV lanes in Florida. Good job, Florida. All right, guys, and that is it for today. I would love to know what you think about these stories. What do you think about what they did in India, designing this 90-degree bridge? And what do you think about here in Colorado, where our wonderful governor decided to design his squiggly line walkway and make the capital area here in Denver probably one of the ugliest in the country? Also, for my folks who do a lot of flying, are you excited as I am for this no more shoes coming off shenanigans at the airport? Let me know what you think in the comments about the stories, or if you have any other stories that you would like to be discussed on the channel. Also, this Friday, we will be going down to Georgia and talking about a certain circular highway. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.